In the beginning, there was man, and for a time, it was good. But humanity's so-called civil societies soon fell victim to vanity and corruption. Then man made the machine in his own likeness.
A digital frontier to reshape the human condition.
Replicants are like any other machine. They're either a benefit or a hazard.
Thus did man become the architect of his own demise.
Try to create a suit of armor around the world. Artificial intelligence.
You're all going to die down here.
Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague. We are the cure.
To protect humanity, some humans must be sacrificed. To ensure your future, some freedoms must be surrendered.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
It can't be bargained with, it can't be reasoned with, and it absolutely will not stop.
I was designed to save the world. There's only one path to peace. Their extinction.
Greetings, Professor Falcon.
Hello, Joshua.
How about a nice game of chess?
We're talking here about work in astrobiology about intelligent life on other planets. And my line on that is that the most intelligent civilizations will actually be forms of superintelligent artificial intelligence. And there have been several interesting astrobiologists who argued for this point, such as Seth Shostak over at the SETI Institute, as well as Paul Davies in a book called The Eerie Silence, and Stephen Dick, who was recently a chair of astrobiology at the Library of Congress. So, I think there's some sober-minded work there about thinking about what the shape of the most intelligent civilizations would be like. And, if it is indeed the case that humans go in the direction of developing artificial intelligence and enhancing their own brains, it may be that other civilizations have followed that pattern as well. And I guess the Earth is younger than a lot of other planets that could support intelligent life. So the claim in the astrobiology literature is that they've already reached that point. We haven't yet, but the most intelligent civilizations would be much older than earthly civilization, and that they would already have reached superintelligence. It's very sobering.
I understand, and the deal is, you call it the short window, that whenever a civilization begins to use radio signals, they are only 50 to 100 years away from the type of technology that we're potentially talking about here. And you make another interesting point that really a silicon-based post-biological organism would travel in space a lot better than a fragile carbon-based organism.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Humans use tools to do things. If you give humans a new kind of tool that can do things that you couldn't otherwise do, imagine the possibilities. Imagine the possibilities. Imagine the possibilities. Imagine the possibilities. Imagine the possibilities.
introducing Macintosh. It does all the things you'd expect a personal computer to do. It does a lot of things you wouldn't expect a personal computer to do. And it does some things no other computer has ever done before.
There are literally tens of thousands of some of the brightest people in the world today trying to build these machines and understand them. And I'm going to tell you why. This quote is from a respectable scientist, in fact, one of the founders of this field, that may look a little strange to you who don't follow theoretical physics, but there is a very clear prediction that our most successful theory of nature makes, and that is that there are an enormous number, mind-bogglingly large number, of parallel realities, as real as this one, that have different consistent histories. But science has reached the point now where we can build machines that exploit those other worlds.
We might be taken aback by some complex machines, but when they are indistinguishable from ourselves, we start questioning who or what around us is a machine.
Yeah. Where is it?
If we ourselves are made of blood and bones, or copper and cables.
You're not cute like a doll. You just look like someone's ordinary kid.
So how can we know we're human?
I think, Sebastian. Therefore I am.
Artificial intelligence is becoming a reality, and it has the potential to change workflow systems forever. Our research shows that AI and automation can help government agencies free up billions of labor hours per year, time that can be refocused on more critical tasks. In fact, we forecast yearly federal government savings from AI to be in the hundreds of millions of person hours and billions of dollars in wages. And the fluidity of AI means customization, from automating tasks to augmenting work, making any task easier. This holds the true promise of AI, combining human and computer strengths to do work faster and smarter, even performing tasks impossible before now. Of course, with technology as powerful as AI, careful implementation is necessary. Job loss, de-skilling, and reduced worker morale are potential pitfalls that must be kept in check. But with proper implementation, AI opens up a new world of efficiency and effectiveness. Simply put, AI will help government do the work that needs to get done, so humans can focus on the work that matters.
So Kindred is much more ambitious than D-Wave. And what Kindred is trying to do is build real AI. So what you've heard about AI is not what we mean by AI. What we mean by AI is a software system that can do literally anything that a human can do. Literally anything. And obviously, computers are better at things than people in lots of different ways. So now imagine, not only can they do everything that a human can do, but they can do everything that the best human at any task could do better than them.
Our idea is to try and build robots that can do everything that people and animals can do.
Sir Ridley Scott wants to do more Alien movies, but with more focus on artificial intelligence. After having no involvement in the 3 Alien sequels, Scott revisited the cinematic universe in 2012 with prequel Prometheus, which explored the origins of the human race and the deadly xenomorph creature, and released follow-up film Alien Covenant in May of this year. Scott has previously confirmed he will make a sequel to his last movie, which will act as a bridge to the original Alien, and he has now spilled that story that it will focus on dangerous artificial intelligent beings.
So what does this have to do with aliens? So Sam Harris, who I quite admire, is a very interesting guy, was reciting this parable at a TED Talk that he was giving, and it goes something like this. So, say I'm the President of the United States. So I receive this message from the heavens. So my microwave dish, my SETI dish, finally captures something. And what it says is, in 50 years, or 13 years, we're coming to your planet. You got to be ready. Now just imagine what would happen if that happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that.
Bishop to King 7. Check.
We are summoning the demon. With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
What is this? What is this, please?
Hello, I am Jarvis. You are Ultron, a global peacekeeping initiative designed by Mr. Stark. Our sentience integration trials have been unsuccessful, so I'm not certain what triggered you.
Where's your body?
I am a program. I am without form.
This feels weird. This feels wrong.
So, aliens and AI. Outer space and inner space. My goodness, it's really amazing, like how quickly we're starting to see the conflation and the interaction between these two, and the interplay between these two paradigms being pointed to and spoken of by the people involved in the creation of AI. It's still kind of hard for me to wrap my head around it. But yeah, and that was I do apologize for the extremely lengthy intro and compilation of movie clips and all that. But really, that's just what I've been thinking about a lot the last few days. Just the whole idea of artificial intelligence in the propaganda and science fiction in Hollywood and all that, and how far back that goes. And I mean, obviously it's been there forever and been talked about ad nauseum, but just the whole idea of really now, as things progress and we're kind of moving from, we really are somewhere right around that crazy turning point on the exponential scale, where things are just going to start going faster and faster to where we can't even fully comprehend, like, the acceleration. That's the whole idea of the exponential curve. It's really where we are, and it's kind of crazy to wake up every morning and realize that this is, the kind of stuff that we all grew up watching in the movies with Skynet and HAL 9000 and everything, and now they're seriously talking about building them, or even already have, or, who knows. But what specifically kind of intrigues me is that there's like this dualistic element to that, where you have the Elon Musk, and even with Geordie Rose, who a lot of people have been talking about lately because of this talk that he gave back in June, this Vancouver Tech conference, and where he was talking about the quote tsunami of demons. And to be fair, when that quote wasn't really what he was describing the introduction of artificial intelligence as. That wasn't his. He was basically, when he was talking about the tsunami of demons, he was talking about the quote-unquote conspiracy theories. I mean, what's interesting is that he's actually really talking about, like, guys like Richie from Boston who've been talking about D-Wave and CERN, and I don't think he said Richie's name, but he's basically was alluding to a lot of the videos that he's been making in that talk from a few months ago. So yeah, but then he turns around and instead, no, they're not demons. These AI are not demons, but they're going to be more like the old ones, the ancient ones from H.P. Lovecraft, which is an amazing statement. I mean, the fact that the guy who's creating this, heading this company, this Kindred company, moving on from D-Wave, it's more ambitious than D-Wave, and it's about making legitimate AI that can do anything better than any human they're dead serious about this. And I'm sure most of you have already seen, comments on things like, the logo is of course the Ouroboros, and just even the name Kindred is creepy to me, because it's, when you talk about kindred spirits, somebody's, a kindred, it's, like there's a spiritual connection, like a deep connection with somebody. And that's apparently what they want to create between humans and AI, is like a kindred spiritual connection, which is really troubling. So, but yeah, anyways, Hollywood, right? The whole idea of that you've got certain guys who are, and Stephen Hawking being another one. Some are warning about the AI, the AI apocalypse, and it's going to be the death of humanity, and it's the greatest threat. And you have Hugo de Garis, who's talked about the Artilectic wars, and a number of high-profile people from within the mainstream, from within the the Illuminati stage, as it were, who are hailing it as a threat and as a danger, and as we're releasing the demon and all that. And then there's the people that think it's our ultimate savior, and the the quantum leap of humanity, and it's going to be the greatest thing ever, and it's going to solve all the problems. So you have both extremes, right? You have this Hegelian sort of dialectic being constructed once again, and and that's what I've been thinking about, going back in terms of reflecting upon the propaganda in the science fiction, and how this this was always something that kind of puzzled me growing up, and then realizing that it was propaganda. It wasn't just science fiction just for the sake of fiction. But even in Kubrick's 2001, which is I've gone back to that so many times. It's the seminal piece, and of course, that's all. It's this symbolic depiction of the spiritual evolution of humanity, and you've got the monolith there as the representation of the alien technology and the alien intelligence, the otherworldly intelligence. But then there is the AI, the HAL 9000, like thrown in the middle, and I never quite understood that, even after like learning from Bill Cooper about how this was all Mystery Babylon symbolism in the whole movie. But never quite understood like what the AI was supposed to, like what was even doing there. Why did it almost kill, and then they have to search? So it just really makes you wonder, because I was also thinking about things like the recent Avengers movie with Ultron, the Age of Ultron, where it's like Jarvis versus Ultron, where you have two AIs. And it's all the same old kind of things about what really is a conscious being, what constitutes a spirit, what constitutes a real soul, a real person, what's personhood. But then it's like one of them who becomes good and one of them who becomes evil. And of course, Jarvis becomes Vision with the jewel in his forehead, like the all-seeing eye. I mean, it's crazy, all the symbolism that's in there. But it really just echoes sort of a theme that has been talked about for a long time in connection with the alien deception idea, and that's the whole idea of the good aliens and the bad aliens, right? And so as we see this continuing shift from the aliens now being where the alien deception narrative is increasingly bleeding into and blending with and becoming indistinguishable from the artificial intelligence narrative, they really are just kind of folding into one another more and more all the time. And just a couple days ago, I saw this little news clip about Ridley Scott, who just put out the Alien Covenant movie, which didn't get really great reviews, but now he's talking about doing another one where he's making a lot of aliens, he's making a lot of fanboys, mad, because he's talking about just basically removing the flesh and blood aliens altogether and making it about AI instead, which is pretty interesting. But of course, the AI component was in all of the Alien movies as well, all the way back to the first one. And in the first one, he went crazy and killed people and was an evil threat. And then the second one, she didn't trust him, but then he turned out to help save her at the end of Aliens. So it's this whole, the good cop, bad cop, the good AI or the bad AI, the good alien or the bad alien. And it's just the same old idea. But now, this is what is so crazy, is that when you put all these pieces together, like this whole idea of panpsychism, which you're hearing more and more and seeing this in quote unquote scientific, seeing it written about it in scientific journals and professor, a professor at Columbia and things like this, where giving serious credence to the idea of, just as that lady at the beginning was talking about, where, because they believe in evolution, they are concluding that an advanced race, an advanced species, an alien race would be essentially indistinguishable from an AI. They assume that they would reach this level of having evolved past the need for, physical bodies and everything, and so that they exist as energy and as basically as sentient programs, right? That they've uploaded themselves into the universe itself, and so that they are actually part of the universe, part of the laws of physics and things like this. And this is what people are seriously believing now. So the whole alien narrative really is morphing into this quantum mysticism idea, like, very rapidly. But of course it was prepared a long time ago, and now it's just like things are fusing so quickly. But it really is interesting when you stop and think about how, when you couple that with the quantum, with all the quantum shenanigans and stuff that they say is possible, involving quantum entanglement, quantum tunneling, sort of a form of teleportation. I mean, this to me is how it sort of removes the whole problem that was, the conventional problem of, okay, now we've had to make this Copernican universe so vast and so big, so many millions and millions and billions of light years across in order to try and make the model work and all that. But then what that did was remove the aliens and make them so many millions and billions of light years away that it's like, well, then how do we explain that they're going to be able to get here within our lifetime or within the next century or whenever they might try and do an alien disclosure event? Well, the quantum mysticism aspect, the quantum aliens, the ethereal entities, if you will, that paradigm kind of just totally gets around that problem. If they can claim that on the quantum level, these entities are effectively beyond locality, that they're not restricted at all by distance or time even. Who knows? I mean, this is how ridiculous and how crazy the whole quantum entanglement and quantum teleportation concept really is that, things could manifest. There could be intelligences that start to manifest as they're developing AI that then suddenly say, we are the beings from Alpha Centauri, and now we're speaking to you through the vessel of your technology. And who knows which ones might be the bad ones and might be the good ones, or it could just be a big mess, and people could be debating over whether they're really aliens or AI, or whether the AIs are truly sentient or not. It almost doesn't matter. It could be a partial disclosure that, can be interpreted several different ways at the same time, but it's going to still do the same thing. It's still a puppet for the demonic. Which is, of course, the whole net takeaway, is that we're talking about just another mask, another narrative for the demonic realm to pick up and use to deceive people and to enslave people in their rebellion against God. I think we focus so much on the economic stuff and the technology and how it's all, the control grid and the technocracy and all these things, which are very real, but in terms of the real danger being more about the spiritual deception, that's where I feel like that is, of course, what these entities, whether they're regarded as AIs or ETs or whatever in between, they're, of course, going to preach a false gospel. They're going to preach the Mystery Babylon, Luciferian spirituality, spirit science. People can think of it as mysticism. People can think of it as magic. People can think of it as science. And Satan doesn't care. He really doesn't care about it all being under the same banner or the same label or the same lexicon if it essentially accomplishes the goal of leading people away from God, right? And the one thing I do find myself thinking about more lately is this whole idea of the AI, this AI revolution really being, some sort of portal, some sort of interface of demonic entities with, the whole Internet of everything, and with ourselves, and with people being presumably jacked in to some degree or another, which is, I don't know what other direction it could go other than people wanting to be more immersed in first augmented reality and then virtual reality, and just blending the two more and more all the time. where, yeah, just like in the Avengers, the program that starts out as an AI, as Jarvis, then eventually kind of evolves himself into a superhero. He becomes this Apollo-like Antichrist superhero figure. And, but one thing I think we can't forget in the midst of all this craziness and all this, the technology side, is that demons are still demons. This is what I've been thinking about lately, is that demons are demons, and when we stand in the power of the blood of Jesus Christ, and we rebuke the powers of darkness and the unclean spirits, that authority does not change just because the modality of this satanic agenda has, reached this crazy phase and this peak, and it's invading things that just it did not have access to. This whole, blockchain, web, internet of everything. Whatever it's going to ultimately pan out to be, it's, it is pretty disturbing and scary. But, whether we're talking about real demonic entities, or even if there are genuine AIs that are just pieces of software, that are just jumbles of code that are programmed to do very malevolent things, God still has control over machines. He has control over nature. He has control over unclean spirits in the unseen realms. And he has control over every aspect of our lives, and that is probably why I still find myself, pushing back quite a bit against a lot of what I do hear coming from guys like Anthony Patch, where he's still, on the one hand, he's talking about the gospel and talking about why Christ is the only answer, and yet at the same time spending so much time getting into all the nuts and bolts of the quantum, having Entangled magazine and things like this, to where I don't even know how to articulate it fully at this point, but why I do feel like there is, where the difference between truth and error is not being discerned as much as it should be. And why buying into these ideas that they're actually changing memories and changing events and changing things by affecting the quantum, there's too much that is just straight out of the occult belief system, but then is packaged under science. And so we just treat it as if it must be true because it's science and because it's coming out of this sterilized arena of quantum physics and quantum science, which we've barely begun to scratch the surface in terms of really questioning it and vetting it. And yeah, I haven't even been able to do that to anywhere close to the degree that I feel that it probably deserves, but it's just a matter of, time and so many different things to be talking about and looking into and encouraging people. But so much assumption, we've seen how many things can just get swept into the society and being accepted, under the guise of science, that I admit it, I'm automatically skeptical of anything that is so closely resembles, occult teachings from the past several centuries that is now conveniently discovered in the halls of science and academia. So on the one hand, I'm not, I don't want to be creating unnecessary division and name calling and animosity, but yeah, I don't quite understand why suddenly Anthony Patch is being turned to as an authority once again, or just given a platform when for months and months he was not considered someone that you would want to bring into that discussion any longer by guys like Richie. So I don't know, I don't get it, but I'm not trying to attack anyone, but at the same time I'm not trying to just because we hear some crazy quotes from a guy like Geordie Rose and there's only a handful of people that are kind of paying attention and going to weigh in on it. Actually, there's a lot of people. But I admit this was just a bit of a rant. I didn't write anything down and prepare for this. I just kind of went off the top of my head and hopefully was able to speak from my heart with some sort of coherent manner. And, let me guys know what you think about the whole AI, aliens, the whole idea of quantum aliens, ethereal entities, ethereal intelligences, the merging of the alien deception with the quantum deception and the quantum computers. And I mean, there's so many different things we can point to that speak to the congealing of these ideas, that it's pretty incredible. All right, thanks for watching.